Alright, so I initially answered this question just as a comment whenever it was asked on one of my videos, but I figured after I thought about it, it actually makes for a pretty good video idea. So how long was I in the Navy? So I enlisted July 23rd, 2007. I was in the delayed entry program for 2 months, or about, well actually that's considerably less than 2 months. Then I went to boot camp on September 4th, 2007. And I was supposed to graduate because it's 7 to 8 weeks long, depending on how the schedule goes. But I've never been a very good runner, so I ended up being there like 3 weeks longer than I was supposed to. But I made it through, and in fact that'd be another good story, but that'll be later on. So I believe it was November 14th, 2007 that I went to my A school. I should have mentioned this. I came in as an electronics technician, and A school is a 3-part process. Well, actually, it's a 2-part process for the ET side. It's a 1-part process for being a seaman. So I had to go to I believe Surface Common Core (SCC) is the first process. Then it's Apprentice Technical Training (ATT), which was formerly known as Tech Corps, that I went to after that. Then there was the actual A school itself, which is short for apprentice school. I know it's kind of impressive that I remember specific dates like that, but they get a little fuzzy after that. I believe I finished SCC before I went home on leave in 2007, and I started ATT at the very beginning of 2008. Then I finished that. I'm pretty sure in March. Then I finished ETA school in June. Then I was in what is known colloquially as holds, where you're just pretty much waiting for orders. And I stood like little fake watches just to, get you prepared for the watches you stand on the fleet, which is actually, even though people, don't ever stand those properly, it's actually good practice because you end up being like overly prepared for the watches that you stand on the ship, at least the initial watches. And then I in July I went, no, I can't remember these dates at all, or specifically, but around July I went home on leave for 3 weeks. And then I went to my first C school, which was SPIS 67, which is a surface search radar, and high frequency radio group, which is I don't have to get too technical with this, but it's one of the older models of communication systems. It's used mainly because it has a longer range. It's able to go over the horizon, which you don't really need to know what that is, but it was a very old system and it broke a lot. Same with 67, but yeah, so then I finished my C schools, the whole process, both of them in November. Then I came to Japan on November 16th, 2008, and I was in another holds, or this one was called TPU, for about 2 weeks. Then I checked on board the USS McCampbell December 1st, 2008, whenever it pulled into port. I don't know how detailed I want to get, but I was on board the USS McCampbell for 3 years. I initially checked into my work center, then I was sent to food service for, you have to do most rates have to do mandatory food service on a small ship like the McCampbell, which was a destroyer, for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months depending on the ship. Then I went back to my work center, which was a radar work center, because I had my radar NEC, which is, I believe, Navy enlisted classification. I can't remember because it's, I never really cared. But then I was sent promptly to work with the interior communications electrician technicians. I forget the actual name for that. I was never an IC, so it doesn't really matter. But I worked with them for about 3 months because I was new and no one liked me. But then I was sent back to then I was sent to a new work center, which was the communications work center. Then I was sent back to radar. Then I ended up spending the rest of my time, or essentially the rest of my time, working with the damage control petty officers down in engineering. So I had a pretty varied tour on board the USS McCampbell. So then after that, I went to Mesron 7 in Guam, which I was never supposed to go there in the first place. My orders were supposed to be canceled, but I never got the message. So I ended up going there on orders that were supposed to be canceled, and essentially waited there for a month and a half till I get new orders. And I chose to come back to Japan because of a girl. If you want to hear more about that situation, you can look at my videos about toxic relationships. In fact, this one was part 1. And it was one of the biggest mistakes of my life because the USS Shiloh was definitely 2 of the most stressful years of my life. But yeah, I should mention, yeah. So my next command was the USS Shiloh. I checked on board April 23rd, 2012. 2012. And 2012 was my year of hell. I should probably make a video about that. I should probably state though, with the USS Shiloh, my second year on board, I was working with engineering, so I was doing a lot better. It was really my first year that was horrible. But I mean, it was horrible for the entire ship because it was a really stressful year. But after that, when I was picking orders for my next command, I decided that I wanted to leave Japan because I'd been here for a long time. But I told myself if I could find orders for shore duty, I had to stay in Japan. And lo and behold, there were orders for COM Subgroup 7, which is also in Yokosuka, Japan. And I was there for 2 more years, and I ended up separating. Well, not separating out of there. After that, I went to Seattle for the. If you're stationed in Japan and you separate, you get sent to either Bremerton or Bangor, Washington. I went to Bangor, Washington. That's where I separated out of in April 2016. And I've now been out of the Navy for a year. And I'd say it's been easy, or it was a good transition, but I mean, having a nervous breakdown kind of, says otherwise. So, but I've done the best as I can with the situation, and I'm doing a lot better now. So this has been a pretty long video, so I think I'm going to cut it off here. So if you like my video, subscribe. If you like my music, buy it. And if you hate me, tell everybody. Out.